This is booked for drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part 2. Today we're diving into the prankster's fitting end. Let's go. Chapter 1. Just a wall away, I could hear Shirley Hunt's voice lift with excitement. Prank number 96 is a success. Marvin Chambers' tone held a sharp, unfamiliar sarcasm. Did you enjoy it? One of Marvin's buddies chimed in, laughing. Marvin's so sweet to get back at Serena for you, Shirley. But she brought it on herself for stealing your national scholarship and that game design competition trophy. Once he hits 100 pranks, he's going public with you. My whole body froze. I've got to hand it to Marvin. Pretending to have amnesia just to mess with Serena is a genius move. Remember the first prank, where he made her search in the rain for that bracelet, just to hand it off to Shirley? You should have seen her face. My nails dug into my palm. That emerald bracelet had been a gift from my mother on her deathbed. Marvin said he lost it during the move. I spent 7 hours looking for it in a storm that day. I had a 104-degree fever by the end. Another friend laughed. The best one was on the day she did her thesis defense. Marvin told her he was drunk and had been beaten up at a bar. After she found out there wasn't a fight, she ran back to the professor in tears, begging for another chance. I even got it on video. I bit down hard on my lower lip. I'd skipped the presentation I'd spent 6 months preparing just to find him. In the end, I had to postpone my graduation. Shirley chuckled lightly. I remember the time we folded the game design drafts she'd spent 3 sleepless nights on into paper airplanes. She spent the whole night picking them up with red eyes. She looked like a lost puppy. Right on cue, Marvin laughed. So what should the next prank be? Let's tell her you're in the hospital. She'll rush over to look for you, while we'll throw a party. Perfect, right? My phone buzzed immediately. It was a message from Marvin. I'm in the local hospital. Come now. Worried they might catch on, I left in a hurry. But 2 minutes later, Marvin deleted the message, like he regretted lying to me. I pretended I never saw it and didn't reply. The truth was, I'd already guessed something wasn't right. Once, while Marvin was in the shower, I accidentally found an encrypted folder on his phone titled, Game Progress. There were exactly 96 videos. The same number as the pranks I'd endured. The password? Shirley's birthday 12/24. He'd told me it was the day we first met. Last year on that exact day, I waited for him in the snow for 3 hours. Meanwhile, he was at the Hunt's villa, placing a birthday crown on Shirley's head. He didn't show up until late that night. He'd wrapped a scarf gently around my neck, like he genuinely cared about me. Feeling a dull ache in my chest, I opened his WhatsApp. In the pinned chat at the top, I saw he updated Shirley every day with prank progress. I told her I had to work overtime the day I took you to Disneyland. She waited until 3 a.m. I lied to her about the time of the competition. She showed up 2 hours late in her pajamas. It was the funniest thing ever. The last message stopped on the day of the class reunion. That day, when Shirley, accidentally, spilled hot coffee on me, Marvin instinctively shielded me. But the chat read, I felt disgusted just touching her. I even disinfected my hands thrice. Chapter 2. I called my father and told him I wanted to move to Franville, Frontania to live with him. After my mother passed away 5 years ago, he moved there to the place where they first fell in love and stayed to keep her company in a sense for the rest of his life. I, on the other hand, stayed behind Marvin. I had turned down the chance to study abroad, clung to him, and spent the entire year away from my father. I thought if I held on long enough, I could thaw Marvin's icy heart and finally win him over. Instead, when his icy heart melted, all that was left was a bitter cold. What I believed was true love was nothing more than a cruel game of pranks. I was just a clown in his twisted act to impress Shirley, his first love. When my father heard what I said, he was overjoyed. I'm so glad you finally come to your senses. I held back my tears and gave a soft hum. When I leave, help me stage a fake plane crash. He didn't understand why, but he still agreed. The plane crash would be my final gift to Marvin. I'd make sure he drowned in regret for the rest of his life. I deleted every photo of us from my phone. But when I got home to pack, a leather-bound notebook slid out from Marvin's safe. The dark green cover was embossed with the phoenix crest from Ashen Mythos, a game I had stayed up late 36 nights in a row to design. That was my very first logo draft. Marvin had it printed on the cover. Inside were all my design sketches from over the years. He'd kept them, carefully organized, like he truly believed in my dreams. I flipped to page 7 and froze. Next to a photo of me coding at my desk with my glasses on was a sticky note. Today, she snapped at the computer screen, looking like a puffed-up kitten. The revised version was 10 times better. How can anyone be this smart and cute at the same time? Every time I pulled an all-nighter sketching, Marvin was right there, massaging my shoulders and cooking for me. Just because I mentioned it once, he went out in the middle of the night to get me cake. He remembered my period and always made sure I was comfortable. He got into a relationship with me as a prank, but the truth was, he was just as caught up in it as I was. Tucked into the back of the notebook was a stub from a flight on Valentine's Day last year. The blank space beside it was filled with his familiar handwriting. If I had to do it all over again, I'd still pretend to lose the ticket and trick her into staying up all night at the airport to revise the proposal with me, because that was the 70-second prank I pulled for Shirley. Rain slammed against the window. All that love had been built on lies. Maybe Marvin loved me, in some twisted way. But he loved Shirley more. I was just someone he used to entertain her. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and booked a surgery to end the pregnancy. That night, I lay in bed as Marvin came home, the chill of the night clinging to him. I stayed still, pretending to be asleep. There was no sound for a long time. It felt like he had paused mid-move. I hadn't followed through with the prank this time. He must have looked bad in front of Shirley and the others. But I couldn't figure it out. Was he really just going to let it go? Then the mattress dipped behind me, and two strong arms wrapped around my waist. Marvin rested his head against my neck like a tired bird finally returning home. His breath was warm, full of joy. We're having a baby, Celine. Celine stands for moon. That was the nickname he gave me. He once said I was like the moon in the sky, shining only for him. It also sounded like my real name. But I knew the truth. Behind my back, he told Shirley and the others that I was just overthinking. He said Celine was just a name he made up for fun to trick me and make me fall so deeply I couldn't see the truth. All that so he could laugh at how love turned me into a fool. I said nothing. He had no idea I'd already made my choice to end the pregnancy. Marvin didn't notice anything strange. He pulled out my test results and drew 3 tiny hearts on the paper. He used the fountain pen I'd bought him with my first paycheck. He'd carried it with him for years. I didn't say a word. He just held me tighter, whispering sweet nothings like any other day. But my heart felt like it was trapped in the dead of winter, frozen solid, impossible to thaw. I'm tired. Let's sleep, I whispered. He went quiet right away. Then he murmured, remember we're going to Shirley's birthday party tomorrow, before quickly falling asleep. But I stayed awake all night. He had faked memory loss, and I had given him my heart for 3 years. Now, I would fake my own death and let him live with regret for the rest of his life. Chapter 3. At the birthday party, Marvin's friends crowded around me in the private room and pushed the biggest slice of cake right in front of me. Marvin says you love cake. Have some. Marvin looked away, pretending not to notice. The moment the cake touched my lips, a sharp bitterness rose in my throat, and nausea hit me hard. But Shirley pressed me down while shoving the unfinished cake back into my mouth. It's my birthday today. It'd be rude for you to spit out my cake. Come on, finish it. Suddenly, my lower stomach clenched with pain, unbearable and sharp. Marvin's friends started teasing and laughing, treating me like part of some cruel joke. After finishing the cake, I rushed to the bathroom, vomiting until I felt the world spin around me. From the private room came satisfied laughter. Clearly, it was another prank of theirs. Is your stomach still bothering you? Marvin handed me warm water with mint leaves floating inside, an old remedy for nausea he taught me when we first met. I couldn't respond as my body was racked with sharp, stabbing pain, like needles piercing through me. I looked down and froze. Blood was trickling from between my legs, running down my thighs. It was terrifying. I grabbed Marvin's arm, trembling. Take me to the hospital? But Shirley stood blocking the door, grinning. Marvin, it's just a regular bleeding. Girls get that all the time. Don't worry about it. Move. Marvin snapped, his voice sharp. That was the first time he'd ever gone against Shirley. When I woke up, I overheard Shirley teasing Marvin's friends outside the exam room. Did you put too much of the drug? Didn't we agree just to embarrass her in public? One of them chuckled. Marvin should be thanking me for helping him get rid of a burden. Yeah, it's been 3 years. If Serena had a baby, how would he get away from her? Marvin stayed silent for a long moment, then said, pranks are one thing, but you shouldn't mess with her health. Shirley looked surprised, then angry. You said you wanted to make the bookworm fall from her high horse to avenge me, remember? You suggested humiliating Serena in public for my birthday. What, are you in love with her now? Marvin shook his head like he wanted to run from the question. No way, you're the one I love. Outside, laughter and cheers started again. They celebrated the 98th prank's success and immediately began planning the 99th. I touched my flat belly, the dull ache there a painful reminder. The baby and I were just part of their game, wrapped up in a bow as Shirley's birthday present. I wiped my tears and, with shaking fingers, canceled the surgery. It turned out I didn't need to do that because the baby's father had already sentenced it to death. Just as I was about to call my father, Marvin came in. I shut my eyes tight and pretended to be asleep. I heard him whisper in a guilty, hoarse voice, I'm sorry. I knew exactly what he was sorry for. After I recovered and was discharged, Marvin told me his friends and Shirley wanted to apologize and invited me to climb Mount Chessier with them. He said they wanted to pray for our lost child at a monastery on top. I knew it might be another prank, but thinking about the baby made my heart ache. This would be my last goodbye before I left for Frontania. All the way up, they clustered around Shirley, laughing and flattering her while ignoring me completely. When we passed by a tree adorned with ribbons on which people had written their wishes, Marvin bought a ribbon strip, and we wrote a prayer for the baby together. Shirley stood nearby, smiling sweetly at me. You're such a good mom. I ignored her false kindness. There wasn't much space left on the tree. To hang mine, I had to lean over the fence a bit. Suddenly, someone shoved me hard from behind. I fell forward without any chance to brace myself and tumbled down the steep slope. A sharp, unbearable pain shot through me, deep into my insides. My right leg was so badly injured that I could barely move it. Then everything went black. Half conscious, I felt Marvin pick me up, his eyes red. Celine, don't worry, I'm taking you to the hospital. Why? I whispered, tears blurring my sight. Why did this to me? Though my body was wounded, it felt like my heart was breaking into pieces. Marvin's eyes were full of guilt and fear. His voice shook as he explained, I didn't know they'd go this far. I really didn't know. Then my world faded into darkness. Chapter 4. When I woke up again, my right leg was wrapped in a thick cast. The doctor said I might have permanent damage. I lay there silently, tears streaming down my face. Marvin sat beside the bed, looking worn out. His face was tight with pain, his eyes full of guilt and sorrow. He drew a tiny moon on the cast and said softly, Celine, I'll stay with you until you get better. I closed my eyes, and he gently tucked the blanket around me, moving carefully so as not to wake me. He was busy all morning, running back and forth to bring me everything I needed in the hospital. After almost an hour, he finally got to catch a breath. He was acting like the most responsible boyfriend when he was the one who caused all this. I pretended to sleep, but my heart was pounding, aching inside. Marvin stayed up all night and sat by my side. Every now and then, he kissed the name, Celine, he'd written on the cast, tears falling as he held my hand tight, as if I'd disappear if he let go. I'm sorry, Celine. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have listened to them and hurt you. At least I still have a chance to stop this. I won't ever hurt you again. You're my reason to live, Celine. I almost lost you. I'm so sorry. He spoke in a choked voice, watching over me the whole night. I knew he was hurting because I was injured. Last time, in front of Shirley and the others, he said it was just a prank and told them not to cause me real harm. Part of me softened, but I also found it ridiculous. Marvin's loyalty was to Shirley. This was the 99th prank. I was still the toy to please her. Marvin had allowed it again. But who could say what would happen on the 100th prank? Perhaps he still would be an accomplice to hurting me. The next day, while Marvin went out to get breakfast, I called my father and asked his bodyguards to come get me. I was planning my escape through a fake plane crash. While I waited, Shirley showed up, glowing with triumph and pride. Breaking your leg was part of my plan. That's prank number 99. I kept my cool, glaring at her with hatred. Shirley looked me up and down, then adjusted the luxury shawl on her shoulders. The 100th prank will be at the Innova gaming competition. You'll be accused of plagiarism. Marvin gave me all the drafts for your game. He's already bribed the judges. All your submissions will be 3 minutes later than mine. Prepare to face the biggest humiliation in your life. The Innova gaming competition was the most prestigious game design contest in the country. I'd been preparing for 2 years, and I'd saved everything on my game, Ashen Mythos, on my computer. My anger flared as I slapped her hard. You steal my work and my boyfriend. You're nothing but a trash bin, picking up after me. Shirley raised an eyebrow, grabbed my wrist, and twisted it, ready to slap me back. You're the one who's picking up after me. But the slap never came down. What are you doing? Marvin came back, followed by my father's bodyguards. For once, he snapped at Shirley. Shirley understood Marvin couldn't break up with me yet because he still had one last prank to pull on me, so she just sulked and left. Before Marvin could explain, the bodyguards pushed a wheelchair toward me, ready to take me away. He sensed something was wrong and stopped it, looking worried. What's going on? I looked down and said, I'm going to Frontania for treatment. My dad's really worried. Marvin didn't want to let me go. He wasn't convinced. But since he was the one who caused my injury, he had no choice but to agree, especially after I insisted that my father wanted to see me soon. Then, as if he couldn't wait, he booked a flight for tomorrow right in front of me, promising to come find me and even asking for my flight number. I hesitated, then told him it was ZX9217. He wanted to see me off, but suddenly his phone rang. It was his friend. Shirley fell down the stairs. Get here now. Without a word, he dashed out. I gave a bitter, cold smile and told the bodyguards, let's go. At the airport, Ms. Davison, everything's going according to plan. Mr. Davison said the crash scene will be perfect. The gate screen flashed QL4032. I nodded and boarded the plane to Frontania. It was December 24th, the day we first met, according to Marvin. No matter the truth of that statement, I chose this day to make sure he would never forget me. I wanted to make sure he'd remember I died because of his stupid prank game, so he'd regret it forever. 1 second before the crash, I sent Marvin my last text. For your 100th prank, I'll risk my life to play along. My phone exploded with calls and messages. The ZX9217 crash was complete. Chapter 5. I glanced at my phone one last time, eyes locking on a new post from Shirley's secret X account. Apparently, Marvin's putting together a prank compilation for our wedding, featuring someone's ugly crying face as the grand opening. The picture showed a safe in Marvin's apartment, neatly stacked with 99 voice recorders. Seeing all those missed calls from Marvin, I smiled as I pulled out the SIM card. He still had no idea about the plane crash. He only knew I had uncovered his prank game. Was he suspicious, angry, panicked, perhaps uneasy or confused? But none of it mattered anymore. My father said making a private plane disappear from radar would be like wiping my fingerprints off our wedding photo frame. He told me to trust him completely. And soon, I would disappear from Marvin's life just as thoroughly. When Marvin heard about the crash, he ran headfirst into the wreckage, ripping apart smoking metal with his bare hands. His tailored suit was shredded by steel bars. Firefighters tried to stop him, but his bloodshot eyes scared them off. My girlfriend is in there. She's wearing the moon necklace I gave her. Then a tall stranger stepped up, and before Marvin could react, the tall man slammed a fist into his face. Marvin collapsed but didn't fight back. He just kept searching through the rubble, desperate to find someone familiar. Ms. Davison's ashes are being taken back to Franville to be buried with her mother. You failed her. No matter what you do, you'll always have her blood on your hands. It was my father's assistant. Marvin's legs gave out, and he fell to his knees amid the ruins. Then he spotted a ring. He picked it up with his trembling hand. It was the one we had picked together. But inside the band was an engraving. Hope you'll love me after 100 pranks. I had it engraved without his knowledge. Marvin was shaking all over, stunned beyond words. Only then did he realize I'd known everything all along, that not only had he hurt me again and again, but he had also allowed Shirley and his friends to trample on and humiliate me. Marvin had fallen for me during our relationship, which was supposed to be a prank, but he kept fooling himself, thinking he still loved Shirley. He was too proud to lose face in front of Shirley and his friends. He wouldn't admit the truth. He figured the pranks were almost all done, and I was still in the dark. He believed he could leave the past behind him and keep playing the part of the perfect boyfriend, since I was blindly devoted to him. But he never expected that I had found out and had been going along with his charade the whole time. At that moment, Marvin finally felt what I'd been feeling. We'd been together 3 years. He always stood on my left side, close to my heart. He was so near yet so far away, seemingly always out of reach. Now, he truly understood the pain I endured. Ruined career, delayed graduation, injured leg, lost competition, partner's betrayal. But all that weighed less than Shirley's words. He always chose her over me. Marvin knelt in the wreckage, broken and hollow. He was crying so hard he nearly passed out. Luckily, some kind staff found him and rushed him to the hospital. Shirley saw the shell of a man Marvin had become and sneered, "The 100th prank is completed. Time to make it official." Marvin didn't respond. She waved a USB stick, smirking. "I'm competing using a dead woman's game design. Do you want to be the one to present me with the award?" Marvin's expression froze cold as ice. Suddenly, he lunged forward and slapped her hard, then he grabbed her by the neck and smashed her into the window. "I will never be with you. If you dare to use her designs, I'll make sure you spend your 25th birthday in jail. Test me if you dare." Shirley clutched her face, furious. "Are you crazy? She's dead. Why are you so worked up for her? Don't forget, you pulled those pranks on her for me." Marvin's friends chimed in. "Yeah, she's finally gone. You're free now. Too bad we missed the last chance to see her make a fool of herself." "Haha, I was even planning to have someone throw rotten eggs on her at the competition." Marvin shouted, "Shut up. If it weren't for the stupid pranks, Serena would still be alive." His friends exchanged looks, then burst into laughter. "You're the one who came up with the idea. If you want to point fingers, look in the mirror. You killed her. Don't pretend to be the loyal boyfriend now. Last time, you spiked her drink with laxatives, making her miss her defense." Before the friend could finish, Marvin tackled him, and the group got into a fight. Eventually, Marvin was sent to the emergency room, exhausted and badly injured. The last thing my dad's assistant told me about Marvin was this. He'd fallen out with everyone, started hurting himself, kept saying he'd betrayed his girlfriend, and was in and out of psychiatric care. He had a tombstone set up for me in the Reno Woods Cemetery, where he spent long hours visiting. He even tattooed the game logo we designed together on his chest. Everyone in Reno Woods knew Marvin had a woman he could never forget, the one who died in a plane crash. I scoffed quietly and focused on the advanced treatment in Frontania for my leg injury. Chapter 6. 2 years later, I founded a game studio in Frontania and finally brought my independently designed fantasy game, Ashen Mythos, to life. I submitted it under the name, Celeste, to an international game design competition. Thanks to its unique blend of Tricasia mythology and fantasy elements, with a style that resonated perfectly with gamers worldwide, it won first place. The win caused a huge stir back home. It was the first time a Tricassian game designer had taken the top prize in that contest. The auction price skyrocketed, quickly reaching millions of dollars, and my studio was flooded with offers from countless partners every day. The auction was set to happen 3 days later. My father asked me, "Aren't you worried Marvin might come after you if you make such a big deal out of this?" I'd heard rumors Marvin was called a madman in Reno Woods, and no one dared mention the name, Serena, around him. I shrugged it off, with a smile. It's been 2 years. He's the one who's stuck in the past, not me. I'm not afraid of anyone anymore. My father looked at my legs, now strong enough to walk, and nodded. "If Marvin dares to come after you, I'll deal with him myself." Ashen Mythos had been sketched out piece by piece right in front of him. He knew almost every design detail. Now that it had won first place, there was no way he hadn't heard the news or started to suspect. But he never guessed that the plane crash was just a staged death. Still, with that clue, digging deeper was easy. The day after the international contest announced the first place winner, Marvin showed up at my studio. He was shockingly thin, his suit hanging loosely on his frame. A phoenix tattoo spread its wings over his collarbone, visible through the open shirt collar. Around his neck hung the 100 prank ring, the one I'd tossed into that crashed plane. His eyes were dark and heavy, filled with bitterness and cold detachment. When he saw me, his gaze softened and sharpened at once. "Celine," he whispered, voice rough and strained. "Congratulations on winning first place." Hearing that old nickname made my skin crawl. Marvin pulled out a dark green notebook, holding it out like a treasure while forcing a stiff smile. "Congratulations. Your dream came true." He wanted to change my mind with this book full of memories. But I already knew it contained prank instructions from Shirley and wasn't a journal of love between us. My face hardened. I said quietly, "Are you here to present me with the trophy personally?" Too bad Serene died and couldn't receive it herself. Marvin ignored the sting in my words. Seeing I was alive seemed to break something inside him. Tears fell instantly, and his voice was trembling as he said, "I'm just so happy you're alive. I thought I'd lost you forever." He then pulled out the emerald bracelet my mother had left me, the one he'd discarded and then forced me to give to Shirley as a prank. "You should have this back. I was wrong. I've lived in pain and guilt these past 2 years. I hate myself for everything I did to hurt you. Can you please forgive?" His shirt slipped down, revealing dozens of raw, shocking scars. These were self-inflicted cuts. A sharp pain stabbed my heart, but I ignored his fake sorrow and reached for the bracelet. "No." I cut him off coldly. "The version of me who loved you died 2 years ago in that crash. After 100 pranks, the leg, injury, and everything else you've put me through, I'm done. Do you have any idea how many surgeries I've had just to stand again? I wish you'd just die. I lifted my skirt, showing the cold metal joints of my prosthetic leg. The scars twisted around the muscle, ugly and wasted. This is all your fault. Marvin froze, stunned, his eyes reddened with pain and sorrow, raw and unmasked. Once, I had wished he'd show me a little more love and loyalty in the love prank we were in. But he never did. He grabbed my hand tightly, then collapsed to his knees before me, begging. I know I deserve to die. But destiny brought us back together. Please, give me one more chance, Serena. Celine. He tried to pull me close to his leg, but I shivered with disgust. Let go of me. You're crazy. Right then, a tall man rushed forward and kicked Marvin hard. Who are you? Get off her. His fragile mental state made him collapse instantly, limp on the ground. I took the bracelet without hesitation. Alex Dunham stood protectively in front of me, asking if I was hurt. I shook my head. He was one of the game designers at my studio. I had headhunted him with a high salary. Marvin's face twisted with bitter despair, like someone abandoned and forgotten. He struggled to crawl toward me. Who is he? Are you two together? Serena, you can't do this to me. I really can't live without you. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? Alex kicked him again, firmly. You're threatening her safety. I'm calling the police. Marvin coughed painfully. His face was smeared with dust and tears, making him look powerless and disheveled. I said coldly, it's none of your business who he is. I'll only forgive you if you're dead. As Alex helped me walk back into the studio, I caught a last glimpse of Marvin's eyes, which were filled with pain and the same desperate loneliness I'd felt 2 years ago. Chapter 7. The next day, while I was preparing for the Ashen Mythos game auction, I suddenly received a call from Franville Hospital. Marvin had slashed his own leg. When the paramedics arrived, he was lying in a pool of blood, laughing uncontrollably, mumbling, "Now Serena will forgive me." The hospital staff said he insisted on speaking to me and refused treatment unless I came in person. His wound was still bleeding heavily, and the floor was soaked red. But I couldn't bring myself to forgive him so easily, not after being lied to, tricked, and humiliated 100 times 2 years ago. I politely declined the nurse. I don't know him. If he refuses treatment, maybe you should contact a funeral home for him. On the other end of the line, Marvin cried out, trembling, Celine, my leg hurts so bad, I think I'm dying. Please, I'm begging you, just come see me. You used to care about me so much. Feeling sick, I hung up without a word. The old Serena would have dropped everything the moment she heard Marvin was in trouble. But every time I rushed over, he wasn't there, or worse, I'd be met with Shirley and the others mocking me. Serena, you're acting like Marvin's pet. Just a call, and you come running. Yeah, you're so pathetic. Is this what love's done to you? You're such a simp, it's pathetic. I took a deep breath, pushed the memories away, and returned to preparing for the Ashen Mythos auction. This time, I wouldn't let anything stop me. But just after midnight on the eve of the auction, Shirley posted a batch of old sketches and programming documents on X. They included the game's early framework, with the computer timestamp showing a date from 2 years ago. She accused me of stealing her original game. Shirley was behind 99 of those cruel pranks back then. In the end, Marvin dumped her. Since then, her family's business had been in constant decline, sabotaged by Marvin for my sake. Now that I had come back from the dead, I guess she was seething. But the moment I saw the files, I recognized them. They were the stolen game drafts Marvin had taken from my computer and handed to her. On the day I faked my death, Shirley had smugly bragged that this would become the Innova Gaming Competition's award-winning entry. She said Marvin would make sure she'd win first place, and I'd be labeled a copycat, submitting my files 3 minutes later than she did. Later, while I was recovering from my injuries, I didn't enter the Innova Gaming Competition at all. Shirley backed out too, scared off by Marvin's threats. I never expected her to come back like this 2 years later, unloading all her pain and rage onto me like a madwoman. Her post shot straight to the top of the trending list, breaking the internet. The once acclaimed winner of an international gold prize had suddenly become a plagiarist who stole from an unknown designer. The backlash came fast and hard. My reputation, once built on talent and hard work, was now buried under accusations of theft. The auction was the next day. With this scandal hanging over me, the game's value and reputation were bound to take a hit. Sure enough, the official site showed our game's bidding price had already dropped to half. More people flooded the competition organizers with complaints, demanding that the gold prize be revoked. According to them, a thief like me didn't deserve it. My assistant rushed in holding a tablet. There's still time to stop the auction. I touched my right leg, still aching faintly from rehab, and looked out at the morning light spilling over Franville. Pull up the cloud backups from 2 years ago. Proving myself wouldn't be hard, but digging through endless drafts and compiling everything into a clear statement could take hours. Who knew how long it'd take or how much it would cost? I might have to pull an all-nighter and still not finish. Ashen Mythos might not even make it to auction. Just as I was pushing through the headache and getting ready to start, the conference room door flew open. Ms. Davison, you have to watch this live stream, it's Marvin. I pulled up my laptop. There he was, lying in a hospital bed. He looked pale as a ghost in his hospital gown, his skin stretched over bone. An IV was taped to his hand, and ECG electrodes were stuck to his chest. At the collar of his gown, the edge of a fresh knife wound peeked out, another self-inflicted one. These are Celeste's design drafts from 2019 to 2021. He held up a thick stack of yellowed paper. On November 3, 2019, Celeste messaged me from the library at 2 a.m. and said, "The Phoenix's eye needs a shimmer that reflects the element of rebirth. Then he played a recording. My voice came through, blending with the hum of a coffee machine. Marvin, the maze in Chapter 3 was inspired by the tomb of King Nebuzar. Right then, my assistant spoke again. Ms. Davison, there's more, check X. I switched to X. Marvin had uploaded several video clips showing tons of sketches, design notes, and programming logs. He even included full version histories of all my design files on Git, each with millisecond precise timestamps. Everything pointed to one clear truth: Ashen Mythos was my original work, not Shirley's. I was involved in parts of the game's development, Marvin said in the video. I can confirm every concept came from Celeste. As for Shirley's actions, I'm considering taking legal action to defend Celeste's rights. The tide turned immediately, and my reputation bounced back overnight. Shirley had thought she could finally crush me. She never imagined Marvin would step up and defend me. Left with no choice, she deleted her posts and issued a public apology. Her family's company took a hit from the scandal. One by one, their partners pulled out. Now, the internet was flooded with outrage, this time, all aimed at her. At the end of the live stream, a strange smile formed on Marvin's frozen, pale face. I hope everyone will support Miss Celeste's Ashen Mythos auction tomorrow. Celeste, I hope this can make up for something. Hearing those words through the screen, I sat in silence, my thoughts a tangled storm. The official site showed the game's price was climbing fast, higher than it had ever been before. Chapter 8. At the auction, Marvin was pushed out in a wheelchair, just like when I first arrived in Frontania. A colleague joked, is Marvin really going to bid for Ashen Mythos too? There were plenty of bidders, and the price climbed steadily, but many dropped out when they couldn't top the bids. In the end, it came down to Marvin and a client from Ruttenstan. 10.1 million. 11 million. It's not even a buyout, the royalties after that will be endless. This really might be my dream come true. Alex rubbed his face, amazed. But your ex-boyfriend sure is persistent. Maybe he's trying to win you back. I ignored him and just watched. Finally, Ashen Mythos was sold to Marvin for $12 million, a price nearly equal to the total of the previous top 10 games combined. Once the deal was done, Marvin came over to me. Despite his leg injury, he'd been working non-stop for days. He looked pale, and his features were still shadowed with gloom. I bought this game as a gift for you. I've always believed in your talent and known you're destined to shine. I can shift my focus back to Frontania if you want. Marvin pursed his lips, seeming a bit nervous. I smiled politely. Thank you for your support, but I'm not interested in anything else outside of work. I'll just count this as a big win. Goodbye. Marvin's lashes fluttered quickly as he let out a cough through his colorless lips. Meanwhile, I turned away without hesitation after dashing all the hope he had left. At the press conference, I answered reporters' questions. Someone asked, curious, Miss Celeste, Mr. Chambers from Tricasia spent $12 million on Ashen Mythos. When you were accused of plagiarism, he presented your design documents in your defense. What is your relationship? Are you friends or something more? I paused for a moment, then explained openly, we were friends back in Tricasia. We discussed the development of Ashen Mythos. But that was the end of it. After the conference, Marvin, leaning on his cane and helped by his assistant, moved toward me. I was discussing the next game design with colleagues and had no intention of paying attention to him. Then, suddenly, the roar of an engine came from behind. I turned just as an unmarked van sped toward us. Behind the wheel was Shirley, her hair wild and face gaunt, eyes full of hatred. Watch out. Marvin pushed his assistant aside and lunged to shove me out of the way. But, weak in his leg, he collapsed to the ground and was struck by the van with a loud crash. I rushed over, but Marvin was already covered in blood, his features blurred. Are you okay? He forced a faint smile. For the first time since we met again, he grabbed my hand. Coughing up blood, he said slowly, Celine, I love you. I'll love you again, with all I have, in the next life. Then his hand went limp. Shirley was sentenced to life in prison for murder, and Marvin's family took his body back home for burial. When the 100 pranks ended in a plane crash, Serena, who loved Marvin, had died. The one who survived was Celeste, who lived only for herself, her family, and her dreams. I chose to stay in Frontania and keep working on my next game. Another international game design contest came around. I submitted my new work and became the first designer to win first place 2 years in a row. And this was just the start of my new beginning. The end. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.